But a song like this reminds us that this world, regardless of whether it's in New Jersey or in Jamaica, whichever parish you prefer, this world is not our home. And let me qualify that, because I need to be careful here, because I've heard too many people who preach us into heaven as if we belong to a different place. This planet was made for us. When we say this world is not our home, we don't mean this planet is not our home, because it is. It's just the condition in which the planet is right now is not our home. Because we're only going to heaven for 1,000 years, and then we will come back here. Because the New Jerusalem in Revelation 21 is being described as coming down out of heaven to earth, like the bride prepares for her bridegroom. This is our home. It just needs a total makeover. And if we think that Jamaica is pretty, man, it was. Come back to New Jersey, all the trees is drying, looking brown outside. In Jamaica, when you drive a country and everything is green. Green everywhere. Yeah. Anyway, but total makeover. And we need a total makeover. We need a total makeover. Not just because by now humanity has pretty much done a good job in messing up the planet. You can't swim anywhere without finding microplastics anywhere on the planet, in the ocean. We look at the water and, went to Hellshire, and we went not to Hellshire, we went to the other one, a bit further, one of those, yes. And we go in the water, and it's not as pretty as the water in Bermuda, obviously, but still pretty acceptable compared to the New Jersey shore. Any water is better anyway. But even the water that looks so pretty is dirty. Because the fish that live in that water, day in, day out, 24/7, they collect all that rubbish that we put in there. This planet needs a total makeover. But not just environmentally speaking, no, socially speaking. Because humanity, when it was created, was perfect. But then decided to not stick with the Creator and do their own thing. And now we are having a planet that is populated by humanity that mostly thinks of its own, is self-centered. And that's leading to a lot of problems. Has led throughout history. So we need a total makeover to have a perfect planet that is inhabited by perfect people. See, I don't buy this when I read on Twitter, and I follow a lot of people that don't believe in God and that used to believe in God and so forth, just to get a glimpse of what is going on in other people's head. And to not sit on my own laurels, but to be challenged by what other people think. Because it's easy for us to get complacent in what we believe, and we think that we have it all, and then somebody else comes along with a really good thought, and you never came across that thought because it couldn't be bothered to ever look at that thought. So that's why I like to just in case some of you are like, what do you mean? You follow people on Twitter that don't believe in God. And if you don't know what I mean by that, then ask somebody around you, what is Twitter? And there are some people on there that said something like, we need the conflict that makes me a better person. I need that challenge of fighting against bad things and so forth. And I'm thinking, well, that's good. If you're happy with that, that's fine. But I am looking for something even better than that. Imagine something that is better than good. Imagine something that is perfect. Because you can't improve on perfect. If it's perfect, then it's perfect. You can't improve on that anymore. Imagine a society that is perfect, where everything just works the way it should work, where everybody gets the same and fair recompense, whatever that is, when nobody is poor and nobody is rich, where everything is fine. Now, some of you think, like, what is he talking about now? Socialism, Soviet Union? No, that's not perfect, because that was led by people who were selfish. Go read Animal Farm and find out. That's a book, by the way, that was written about the Russian Revolution. So the pigs were the communist party. Anyway, sorry I gave it away to you. Now, but imagine a perfect society where there is no gap between the super rich 0.0001% who own more than half of the planet's wealth and the 99 point whatever percent of the rest of us who don't. Imagine that didn't exist. Imagine if there were no tax breaks for those that own more than $100 million a year, and the rest of us who make 50 grand now see our tax bills. I don't know, but we'll find out in April, will we? So imagine if there was this perfect society, but that's what I'm waiting for. The thing is, though, that until we get there, we have to make do with what we have. And I'll switch to slides. And what we have here that we live with right now, next slide, is a world that is dominated by certain thoughts, cultures, and people. Some people wonder, why do we have to have Black History Month? Isn't all history history? Doesn't all history matter? Well, it would if history had been taught and written down in a fair and equal manner. But because it has not, that which has been neglected needs to be propped up. Imagine if we were running a race. Equality would say we all start at the same line. Now, but what if I get there in my Stush sneakers that were developed by Nike for I don't know how many $1 million that are super light and very sturdy and have grip, and I'm wearing the latest spandexy looking suit that makes me move without any feeling it. And if I had trained in a training camp with the latest equipment and the best coaches, and they had gotten everything out of my body that is able to get out of my body. Now imagine if behind those coaches there were some lab technicians who had found out a way to get chemistry into my body that the main supervising body will never detect. And those performance enhancing substances will make me run even faster. So here I am at the starting line. Now you, because of equality, get to the same starting line. You don't get you don't start further up, and you don't start way back there. That's where we used to be. You started way back there. But now, because of the Civil Rights Act and everything, we all put you on the same starting line, you see? Equality. But nobody realizes that you wear the same sneakers that your grandfather wore, that wear like a ton, and probably have holes in them already. So that when you run, you have to worry about your feet, whether or not you lose your shoes. And you're wearing an outfit that I last saw in some black and white footage of the Olympic Games. That doesn't give you full movement, full range of movement. And the people that trained you, they didn't know certain developments that had happened in the last 10, 20 years. So they trained you like they trained people in the 40s. And the way you take off, the way you run your race, is done by people who trained people back then. But now, I was trained by people who have the latest technology. You don't have the coaches. You don't have the lab technicians. You don't have all that stuff that I have. And yet we start from the same starting line. You see, that's equality. But it's not fair. Because this is not about fairness. I mean, equality is about fairness. So when people say, well, isn't it enough now to have Black History Month? We have a black president. We had a black president. Oh my gosh, I wish they had done away with the Trump and Burton. Anyway, we had a black president. And now, what are you still complaining about? All history matters because we all start from the same starting line. Well, yeah, if the history had been the same for all people. And if we run this race, we start from the same starting line. Me with my super high-tech gear, and this fabulous coaching team, and this fabulous camp that I was in for, and the best diet, and the best cheating lab technicians, running my race. I will leave you in the dust. I will leave you in the dust, and don't quote you saying to me. because he's retired. Everybody else would have been stuck there. Yeah, I would have run my race, come in second behind Bolt, and then I'm just waiting my time until he retires. And then I'm back on top. You see, that's why we need Black History Month. Because history has been taught in a way that it neglected a large part of the world's population. It diminished the accomplishments of these people, and it inflated the accomplishment of other people. It diminished the crimes of those same people while not inflating the background in history of other people. Black history matters because it is about fairness. It's not about having the same starting line. In this scenario, with your ancient sneakers and your ancient coaching stuff and all the other disadvantages that you have, and me with all the advantages that I have, to make this a fair race, I would have to be put somewhere here and have all these chairs in front of me, and then the whistle goes, and now I have to sort of find my way around. Not knocking things over. All right, now I can run. That would be fair, because that would compensate for all the advantages that I have in building up to the race. Black History Month is not about elevating something beyond others that to make it look better. No, Black History Month is to compensate for centuries of neglect. How many of you have a white Jesus in your house?
A what?
Let me just go in there right now.
Like a what?
If you have a white Jesus in your house, that ain't Jesus. Because Jesus didn't look like me. Jesus was born in the Middle East, at a time before there was mass immigration from Eastern Europe. The Jews that live in Israel now, they ain't the Jews that lived in Israel 2,000 years ago. Most of those people came from Eastern Europe because of the Nazis and the Holocaust. My people lived that. But the people that lived in Jesus' time, in the place where Jesus was born, didn't look like me. Maybe the Italians in Rome, they looked a bit more like me. Yeah, right? So, oh, here he is, knocking on the UN. How quaint a photo and the painting. That's why we need Black History Month, because the folk that painted this didn't realize, or didn't want to realize, that the history that they had been taught, that the history that they were brought up with was properly and totally skewed to this advantage. Because we taught the history, but we are not the white people. We taught the history and we made everything look good that needs to look good and make it look white if it needed to look white. And everything that, well, that we couldn't make look bad, then we, not really important to talk about that. So that's why I never grew up finding out what kingdoms existed on the West African coast before the Europeans arrived there. Never taught that. Or the economy of the African continent, which is a huge continent, into which the United States would fit, I don't know, 5-6 times. Africa is massive. And I was never taught the connections between the areas and the economy that existed there. I was brought up thinking that Africa was that weird, wild place where the Europeans arrived and they brought civilization, as it were. That is because I was taught white history. Black history matters because it was never taught. So when I grew up, Jesus looked like this. That was my Savior. Until I realized that we people are the minority on the planet. And we people didn't exist and live in the place where Jesus lived when he was around. So he don't look like that. He doesn't look like that. And when I say that to some of my colleagues, especially ones in charge of stuff, I get weird looks, I get empty looks. When we complained about this banner last year that doesn't contain any people of color looking at Jesus coming back, my conference colleagues were like, they're there, they're here. Now, I can't put this in my church. Nobody in my church looks like this, except 2 other people. And Jesus doesn't come back for folk in Norway and Sweden alone. This is the second coming in Scandinavia. The problem is, when you don't allow yourself as a non-person of color to open yourself to the embarrassment that is Black history to us white people, when you don't want to go through that pain, then you're stuck in that. But when you do look at Black History Month, a sensitivity begins to grow in you. And you become sensitive to hold that thing up again, Maxwell. You become sensitive to this. You become sensitive to that. And you become sensitive to that. Because Jesus don't look like this. Now, I know that people who painted that and who paint this and the Australian guy who painted that, they don't mean wrong. But it's just that they never really had any education in this. So Black history matters. It's important. And I was glad to hear from Elder Clark that this church in February recognizes Black History Month. That was half the battle won for me. There are 2 other churches. I will have so much fun over there. I won't be in Wayne until actually March, so that doesn't matter. That same sermon going down in Wayne. So here's the thing. When we come to church and to faith and to God, shouldn't all this distinction that humans have created in their sinful state, because really black and white is not a real thing. No, right? Genetically, we are all, I have probably more in common with Sister Francis genetically than with some other random white dude on the street. Because skin color, what we call race, isn't really a genetic, proper sub-race of humanity. Humans are a race that come in different shades and colors, different hair textures. Some of it actually grows out of your scalp. Others, anyway, let me go. There's the head covering again. Another head covering going on here today. I may have something to say about that later on. We just hear from mental slavery. Anyway. And so we say, well, yes, humans in their sinfulness, and it was Europeans again who came up with this idea to distinguish humans into black and white, and they had other. Caucasian, by the way, is a bad thing. You don't want to call me that because no, I may be white, but I'm not Caucasian. Because Caucasian was introduced by Europeans to describe people that look like me. A Caucasian from Caucasus, that's somewhere north of Turkey, they believed that that was the most pure, white, most beautiful example of humanity. And I sure that. I sure am not that. Caucasian is a term that is one of white privilege and supremacy. Now I know some people don't know that, and they use it, like that. That's why I don't call people Negroid, because that is the same category that Caucasian came from. As well, and they had these Latin-sounding things that they put, these categories that they put humanity in. Yes, we say, but those are the sinful people who did this. And when we are in Christ, shouldn't we all just, in the words of, what was his name? Yeah, the guy got beat up in the 90s. Can't we all just get along? Rodney King, that's right. Can't we all just get along? So next slide. So I remember in the 90s, I was at Oakwood.
arrow.
And there was a T-shirt there that I saw.
No.
I bought it.
Okay. Wait.
April 95. It says, Jesus sees no color. Next slide. It's a bit small. You don't even see my young face there. It says, folks, let's zoom in on the teacher. Next slide.
Next slide.
Quickly now.
It's not working.
Yeah. Before I had glasses. It's stuck? Oh no.
Wait,
Yes.
It can't be stuck on this one, not this one. All right, there you go. Jesus sees no color. You know, I thought that was a beautiful sentiment. And they didn't
It's
have the
better.
this
text
gives me
underneath.
pressure. This is one that on
Yeah,
here.
it says in Romans 10:13, it quotes that we can't see it on the statue. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. You know, Jesus sees no color. Tip it again, so we just see the. Yeah.
Oh.
You know, by that we mean that, well, God is impartial in His grace and mercy towards us. He doesn't save one group of people because of the way they look or because of the culture they come from and ignores a different culture of people. He didn't give humanity or souls, as they called it back in those days, just to Europeans, and folk from Africa had no soul, like it was taught in churches not too long ago, a couple of 100 years ago. I would have preached to a soulless congregation because I would have been taught that none of y'all have a soul. And God is impartial, His grace and mercy, and saves all who believe. You know, and that's so beautiful, and that's so true. But again, if you don't have a certain sensitivity about these matters, this can go beyond just theology and salvation, and it can impact how we see each other and each other's cultures and backgrounds. You see, that can be used as a shortcut by white folk like myself to wriggle ourselves out of the painful but necessary work of coming to terms with our own past. So we say, well, Jesus sees no color, neither do I. I'm colorblind. I'm so advanced and progressive. Yay me. Yay me. But then you see something weird going on in the neighborhood. And that's that guy. Must have been him. 911, what is your emergency? That's a suspicious looking fellow. Yes, he's African American. You see it, there goes my progressiveness.
I've seen that before.
Because this cannot be a cop-out. So in the next slide, let me just do a little sociology thing here.
Hey.
How do cultures, or how do we relate to each other culturally? And that is along a continuum. On the very on the very far side, should have over here been on the right. You know what? I didn't realize that. I'll switch this for the next Sunday, because this should be on the right, because that's where most of this happens. Ouch. Cultural destructiveness means that it's my culture only. Everything else is invalid and ought to be destroyed. And the reason why I say this should be on the right, because that's what my people did in the 30s and 40s, 1930s and 40s. Germany was tricked into believing and then accepted wholeheartedly the idea that they're the greatest people on the planet, and that there's a certain other group on the planet that doesn't deserve to live and must be destroyed. And we ended up killing over 6 million of them because we believed they weren't human. When only a decade earlier, they were as German as I was. They may have been my dentist or my doctor. They may have been the shopkeeper down the road. They may have sat in class with me. They may have ridden the tram with me to work. But I believed as a German in the poison of the Nazis, and we ended up over there destroying the culture and the people that we believe needs to be destroyed because they are dangerous and invalid. cultural destructiveness doesn't start with concentration camps. Cultural destructiveness starts with an idea. When you believe the idea that Mexicans and Guatemalans and people from Nicaragua and other places south of the border are dangerous, when you start believing that idea that all of these people are terrorists and dangerous and maybe infiltrated by ISIS, when you start believing the rhetoric that the gang that was started in the United States actually is coming across now from the border, so they must have left the United States, and MS-13 is now down there and coming back to us, we really just started here. When you start believing that, you're on your way to there. Because that's how we started in the 1930s. Started with rhetoric, an idea. It ended in Auschwitz, in all the other extermination camps. That's the far side of the continuum. Now, next one. Then you have incapacity where the system or the agency doesn't intentionally to be culturally destructive, but they lack the capacity to help minority clients or community. They just aren't able to do this. You see the difference? This is willingness and active and planned destruction. This may not even be willing, but they just can't meet the other culture. And let's move on, because of course none of us is there. But in the middle, we have my t-shirt that says all people are the same. So what works for me must also work for you. Remember? We all start at the same starting line. So if I can run the race, easy in my high-tech gear, well, so should you, right? Because we're not colorblind.
You can actually buy it.
And we don't realize that color or culture makes a difference. This attitude here believes that culture and color makes no difference.
This is your information. I don't want this.
That we are all in a melting pot. Whatever that means. Because we are all in a melting pot, then what does the stew look like? Brown stew. No, anyway. You see, melting pot really is something that was invented by Europeans to mean assimilation and become like us. We don't melt in the melting pot. Only you melt. And if you melt, then you will look like us. If not in, in physical appearance, obviously, but then you straighten your hair to look like us. You bleach your skin to look like us. You start listening to the music that we listen to. You start behaving like us. You dress like us. You left behind all of your ancestry and your culture and your history. Become like us. That's the melting pot. But that is based, not necessarily evil or malevolently, but it's based on cultural blindness. But there's hope. Because you see there's still space on this side. So when you move out of this blindness and you begin to see, next one, you become sensitive. When you begin actively to seek advice and consultation, you become sensitive. When you hear about Black history, when you buy a book as a young German that talks about great people of African heritage, that I never heard about, whose accomplishment I was never taught. You become sensitive, Maxwell. When you rub shoulders with people that are not from your cultural background, that are not from your immediate bubble, you become sensitive. And you seek advice. And you realize that we don't know everything. Cultural sensitivity also includes a commitment to incorporate new knowledge and experiences, because it recognizes, it has enough humility to recognize that we are not the apex, that we don't know it all, that others can do it equally well or even better. Food is a brilliant example.
Oh.
Need I say more? German food was all right when I grew up. Well, but then I moved to England, and my roommate was like Barbara, a British-born Jamaican. And my roommate took me up to his dad's house in Birmingham, and I was given a plate with weird stuff on it that I had never seen before. He explained to me what these things were. Ackee and saltfish. Yum. Green bananas. All right. Rice and peas. Well, that was easy to identify. Oh yeah. Fried dumpling. Boiled dumpling. Spinner dumpling.
You got all three.
Spinners in the stew, yeah. You see, you realize that there's improvement, right? Some people can cook better food than you. And finally, once you become sensitive, you want to reach a certain level of competence, which is a general proficiency in working with people of various cultures, where you value diversity. We don't look at the other person and say, no, you value that difference in diversity, where you conduct self-assessment. I had to do that from when I was a child. Historically speaking, Germans, my generation and younger, we had to do self-assessment because the people we read about, the soldiers we looked at in Schindler's List, those were our people. We couldn't say, well, you know, that was those Germans. No, that was us. You do self-assessment. You manage the dynamics of difference and acquire and institutionalize cultural knowledge. I wish somebody in the General Conference would listen to this. Anyway, the ability to adapt to diversity and cultural context of communities served. All of this, cultural competence, it moves us beyond ourselves. In other words, where I'm from, what I'm used to. Because I realize, because I become sensitive, there's more to humanity than just me. And I move beyond that. I see life from somebody else's perspective. And you know, in the church, we don't have to worry about this because we, not I, European, not you, West Indian, African descent, or wherever else you find yourself on the spectrum of humanity, none of us is the head of the church. In the church, we don't have to worry about none of this because Christ is the head. None of us is the head. I know we were brought up with the idea that the Europeans are the head, and I know they still behave like this. Even our, is this recorded? Never mind. I was told by the conference, not the GC. See, at the GC level, it's quite clear that it is skewed to favor Europeans, whether they are American Europeans or whether they are actually European Europeans. It's favored that way, so that there's not too many people of color at the big table where all the big decisions are made. That's why we have 2 European divisions with a myriad of unions across that small continent, because a division president is automatically a vice president of the General Conference. I'm sorry if you're a visitor and I'm talking in tongues right now. And European Union presidents are automatic members of the Executive Committee of the GC. It's skewed to favor as many Europeans as we can put on that table. Because we are afraid that people of color might take over. Who knows what happens there? So we've never elected a black president in GC. Always make sure they're lily white Americans. We had an exception of the Norwegian. And look what he did with his liberal self. And I meant that sarcastically because I really like Pastor Paulson. Anyway. And that is because we are afraid. Because we don't realize that we are not the head. Silver Springs, where the GC is situated, not the head. Columbia, Maryland, where the NAD is situated, not the head. Lawrenceville, New Jersey, where my boss sits, not the head. Ella Clark, Pastor Burton, Schnüll, not the head. Jesus is the head of the church. So, does that mean that since Jesus sees no color, that we don't have to worry about any of this? Next slide. No. It's all right. No. Now I'm working temperature. The engine needs to reach. No, you see, it doesn't mean that. Because God is not colorblind. God is not colorblind. God has divine color vision. He sees the differences. He notices the differences. And the scripture reading that we had in 1 Corinthians 12 is the perfect text why we should have Black History Month. You're like, huh? What? How do you get that out of there? Well, wake up your neighbor, because this is where it gets interesting. So let's look at this passage. All right. Slide by slide. First one. Let's look at this passage. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. And the head cannot say to the foot, I don't need you. So let's just remind ourselves briefly about the context in which this was written in 1 Corinthians 12. Paul is addressing the church in Corinth, where there was a number of spiritual gifts present. And it was believed that those who had the more spectacular gifts, like prophecy or tongues especially, were more spiritual than those who didn't have these spectacular gifts, whose gifts were maybe not even noticed. And prior to this, and we didn't read this, and it's not, I left it out for a reason. But prior to this, Paul is talking about that no body part should say, because I'm not this or that, I'm no longer part of the body. So he's trying to help the people who didn't have these spectacular gifts to understand that they are as important to the body as those that have these spectacular gifts, because just because you're not up there, as it were, doesn't mean you're not part of the body. And then Paul switches this and flips it on its head, and we come to this verse. The eye can't say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, don't need you. So now Paul is saying to those who thought that because of their gift, they were all up there, they cannot say to those who, in quote unquote, were down there, we don't need you. Now I want to take this out of its immediate context. And the beauty in the Bible is that sometimes it allows it to do that. This was written about spiritual gifts. This was written about unity in the church in Corinth, where there was this diversity of gifts. But in this passage, I find something more. You see, it's not just spiritual gifts that distinguish people from people. Remember what we started out with? We started out with Black History Month. We started out with the necessity to have Black History Month. Because for more than, I don't want to put a number on it, for more than many centuries, the Europeans have been saying to the rest of the world, we don't need you. because we got it all. And then they just happened to cross the Atlantic and land on Plymouth Rock and say to the natives there, this is a really nice place. We have divine authority, we have the manifest destiny to take over this land. We don't need you either. So you can work with us and we will kill you slowly, or you can resist us and we will kill you quickly. Which one would you prefer? You see, in this verse, we have European history encapsulated. And you know, some of you are like, why is he keep on bashing about the Europeans? That's because, as a German, I had to go through all this stuff getting to terms with my people's history, and so now I can talk about that history without feeling any huge amount of guilt, shame, and embarrassment. Yes, but not guilt because I wasn't there. That is true. But I'm ashamed of what went on before I was born, and especially in the light of still having to deal with the fallout of all that foolishness. So the eye can't say to the hand, "Don't need you." The foot, the head can't say to the foot, "I don't need you." Nobody can say to the other, "I don't need you." Next verse. Paul now says, he says,
not the right way.
Where are you going?
when it eventually will come, you might have to press it again, I can't remember what, with the transition there. He moves on and he uses this phrase, I don't know, on the contrary.
Is it working?
Oh, King James is so economical. Nay! 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 On the contrary, we stuck. Good people up there? We good? Anyway, so let's read it. I'm reading it in your hearing. So, he's now, there you go. On the contrary. So now he's drafting a contrast. He's drafting this contrast. So you can't say to those who look beneath you, remember the eye to the hand, the head to the foot. You can't say to those who appear to be beneath you, I don't need you. On the contrary.
Next.
Let's see worse. Those parts of the body that seem to be weaker, Paul is drawing up this contrast now. The stuff that appears to be weaker are indispensable. Indispensable means you can't do without this. Next one. And the parts that we think of as less honorable, we treat with special honor. You begin to see something here. He's talking about parts that are weaker and less honorable, but we actually realize that they are anything but weak and dispensable. No, they are indispensable, and we treat them with special honor. Next one. And the part that are unpresentable. I think that was the one with comedy and stuff, right? The unpresentable part we treat with special modesty. Yes, exactly what you think that is about.
Next.
So, weak parts are indispensable. Parts that seem to be lacking honor are treated with honor. Unpresentable parts are treated with special modesty. Next one.
Go. Yeah.
While our presentable parts need no special treatment. That's why we need Black History Month. You see, the parts that are unpresentable, the parts that are appearing weak, the parts that seem to be dispensable, those are parts of humanity that have been left behind, that have been treated unfairly over the centuries, that have been exploited and persecuted, even to the present day. And Paul says these parts in the body we treat with special treatment. Because presentable parts, don't need special treatment. Do you understand why Black History Month is important and not all months should be just human history? Because the presentable parts don't need special treatment. My history doesn't need a special month. Those folk who scream out because in their ignorance, you know, we need a white history month. No, we don't. We got 11 of them already. We don't need special treatment because we've been receiving it all this time anyway. You know why I don't fret when I'm pulled over by the police? Well, I do, because when I was younger, I would get pulled over quite a bit. Not because of what you think. No. I had no, Sister Harris. I had a very special car. It was more colorful than my socks. And every time the police passed me, I could see him in the mirror, making a U-turn, pulling up behind me, putting the lights on. Can I have the officer? Anything wrong, officer? No, I just wanted to see the car. Okay. So even now, every time I pass police, I'm like, I keep looking. This is an automatic reflex now. Today on the turnpike, we came up and you know, after exit 12, it goes down to 55 miles an hour. And so you have to adjust your speed a bit. And I was in the acceptable bracket, Sister Harris. And still there was a cop there, and still I looked, is he going to pull out of his bay? No, he stayed there. Good. And then later on I saw him come up behind me. So I went into the outside lane. And he passed, and I was like, ooh. Because I thought this guy's going to pull me over. But even when they do, I don't sweat. It's no problem.
Oh, yeah, for you.
I don't need to worry about getting shot. Because I might lunge over to get my document.
Yeah, for you.
If I was a gun owner,
For us, yeah.
and I told the cop, I'm a licensed carrier, sir. If I did this, he wouldn't shoot me.
Oh, yeah.
That's because I have privilege in the United States.
Yeah.
Privilege that I didn't earn, privilege that has nothing to do with who I am, but privilege that has been given to me by the virtue of the system that has developed in this country over the centuries. It just is. You see, that's why the presentable parts don't need special treatment, because we already got it. Talking about Black History Month, why it is important. Because the parts that are unpresentable, the parts of history that have not been presented, need to be treated with special modesty, need to be given not just an equal footing, but they've been neglected for so long that at least we need to give them 1 month out of the year. It's the shortest month. But anyway, see the Brits, they have, in the British, in the UK, Black History Month is in October. They got 3 extra days. And Black History Month has spurned other history months, histories that have been neglected. Latino history, Hispanic history. I didn't know that before there were Texans in Texas, there were Latinos in Texas, because it belonged to Mexico. That the Mexican-United States border was not at that river where it is now, but it was hundreds of miles north of that. Anyway, that's for different months. Let's bring it back to us here. Being oppressed. See the savior of the world looking like the oppressor. How am I to tell them that sweet, gentle Jesus identifies with the downtrodden of the world when he looks like not the slave, but the slave holder? Maybe that's why Jesus was born in the Middle East and not in Middle Germany. You know? Even in the church, we need to remember that. That continuum we saw earlier. We are saved from sin and we have given a new heart, yes, but it doesn't take away our history, it doesn't negate our culture. The body is made up of all these different backgrounds. The body is made up of humanity that comes from all parts of the globe. And God has put the body together, us. Now listen to this. Giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it. So really, the church, and by this let's move, beyond maybe our denomination. The church, it always screams about the Bible, the Bible, the Bible. The church should be first in line. And I'm not talking about AME. I'm not talking about Second Baptist. I'm talking about First Baptist. In Mount Holly, there are 2 Baptist churches. First Baptist is white, Second Baptist is black. No, my churches ought to be in front of the pew saying, we need Black History Month because God gives greater honor to the parts that lack it. Next one. Wrap this up.
Next.
Yep. So that there should be no division. See, that what that funny word means. Schism. There should be no division in the body. But that its parts should have equal concern for each other. So that when I'm at the starting line of my race, and I look over to my brother or sister and see that their sneakers are from the 1940s and mine are high-tech 2019, then maybe I should just say, time out, hold on. We got a spare pair? No? Let's switch. So that when I look over and I realize that, oh my goodness, they're wearing stuff that is totally unfit for modern race. Time out. We got a spare outfit? No? Well, I don't want to wear this. Give me my jeans and my baggy shirt. Something that is about as uncomfortable and unuseful for modern running race as what this guy is wearing. Let me put that on. Equal concern for each other. Next one. So if I see that one part suffers, every part suffers with it. So when we were to watch Roots, I should begin to think, could it be my family being sold? So that when we watch Roots, we think, Pastor must feel uncomfortable. Because the guy who's buying these people could have been his grandmother. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. But also, if one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. So what if the inventor of the traffic light wasn't white? Be happy! So what if there were some famous philosophers and scientists and so forth that weren't European? Rejoice! Yay! So what? Be happy and rejoice with the other parts when they are honored. That's why we need Black History Month. So, in conclusion. God sees color. He sees color. Look at it again. God sees color because he's giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it. God is a God of perfect fairness. And why he may not have created humanity with the goal of having the mess that we put into this earth since our creation, while that may not have been his purpose and his goal, he's working with the mess that we created and says, okay, that's what you want? All right, for a second. Come on. Let's just all stand back here. All right? You see these people there? They have been at the receiving end for centuries than you've already received because of that. God is the God of perfect fairness. And God, we need Black History Month because there are parts I need to give greater honor to those parts. And as a sensitive, competent, like, just do your thing. Do your thing. Because that's fine with me. But this is church. So we need to end on a churchy note. You see, let's just zoom out now from humanity. Zoom out from the United States. And like in one of those movies where you zoom out and then all of a sudden you see the whole planet. Let's just zoom out a bit further. Now you see the planet and the solar system. Let's zoom out a bit further. And now you see the Milky Way and all the other galaxies in the universe. When God looked at his creation, he realized that there was one part in his creation that because of their rebellion had gambled away their honor. They had gambled away their status, and now they lacked it. And so God said, I love these people, these humans. They are such a mess compared to all the other creation that I have. They're such a mess. I need to give greater honor to this part of creation because they lack it. And so Jesus, God, became human temporarily, as if to say, well, let's just drag the humans back up to the standard where they were. No, because we lacked and we were such a mess, God says, no, I will give them greater honor. In fact, Jesus will not just become a human for 30 years and that's it. Jesus, when you become a human, you will be human for a long time. And Jesus is like, I know, I realize that. And I don't mind giving humanity the honor of having the God that's still human. No, in Revelation 21, as I said at the very beginning, we read that God's capital, God's seat of government, wherever it is right now, will not stay wherever it is right now. In Revelation 21, John sees the New Jerusalem coming out of heaven, like a bride prepared for her husband. And the New Jerusalem settles on earth. And in Revelation 21, we read that God's dwelling place is with humans. God will relocate from where he is now to come and live with us, giving greater honor to the parts of creation that we ought to the parts that lacked it. Because God sees color. He does have divine color vision. Amen.